Chapter 1 Goal Devil. Kevin Sanders took a deep breath, opened his coat, put on thick gloves, and stood up from the dugout. He looked at Coach Togo and saw Togo wave his hand violently at him with a look of sadness, anger, and helplessness, and pointed at the huge green field. "Go, young man. It's your turn to play." Kevin nodded, then bumped his feet and stretched his muscles. He looked at his hands, which were shaking a little nervously. Although this is a free game, it is very important for Kevin, who is only 16 years old. This is the first football match in his life. It's incredible, but it's true. The cause was still my good friend John, who was sitting behind him. The poor young man had a cast on his hand and was sitting on the bench in the back, shouting loudly to cheer him up. He should have been the goalkeeper who originally played, but John was invited to play basketball with Kai yesterday. When he was sprinting with the ball, his foot slipped and he fell to the ground with the ball. At that time, John broke his hand. The teenagers present were all frightened. By the time John was sent to the hospital and his arm was treated, it was already late at night. At that time, John didn't dare to tell the team's coach Togo. He kept contacting friends who could guard the goal all night, but until this morning, he still couldn't find anyone who could replace him. It wasn't until this moment that John had no choice but to face Coach Togo. You don't know, when Togo heard the news, he looked as if God had abandoned him and his team. "This is not true, tell me, John. Are you kidding me, right?" Togo looked at John's hand, and then his tone became weird. "Okay, young man, let me guess. You can raise your hand later, smile at me, and say, 'Are you kidding?' Huh." Togo seemed to be on the verge of madness. John swallowed with a bitter look, raised his plastered hand helplessly, and said, "Actually, I also hope this is a joke, but my arm and pain tell me that this is real." Togo was stunned for a while, and suddenly he held his tactical notebook and howled. "You know we are rivals with their team. Today is the derby between us and them. As our goalkeeper, you actually lost your hand." "I don't want it either. I asked all the goalkeepers I know last night. No one can come." John was about to cry. "What can I do?" Kai on the side looked at John, then at Togo, and asked a little depressed, "Is it so serious? Isn't it just an amateur league between two communities?" Before he could finish his words, he was frightened back by Togo's cannibalistic eyes. How can it not be serious? Our mortal enemy in the same city. Togo went crazy. He scratched his head and said, "Where can I find a substitute goalkeeper for you now?" John hesitated and didn't dare to reply. "I don't care. Find me someone, even if it's a wall of flesh. Stand on the goal line." John looked at Togo's red eyes, swallowed, and then used his only unbroken hand to pull out Kevin next to him. Just him. What? Kevin's face was blank as he was pulled out. Then Kevin, who reacted immediately, showed embarrassment on his face, and he whispered to John, "I have never played football." Togo slapped himself in the face. "Oh my God, I have never played football." John was afraid that Togo would catch him and eat him alive, so he eagerly comforted Kevin and said, "It doesn't matter. You don't have to kick it. Just grab the ball with your hands." Togo almost fainted. "Just catch the ball?" Kevin looked incredulous. "Yes, just grab the ball." John immediately made a cross on his chest with his hand. "No matter what method you use, just hold the ball with your hands and don't let them kick the ball past the line inside the goal." Kevin looked at John with confusion, then at the lifeless Togo, and nodded doubtfully. "Now Jonathan has the ball. Wow, it's so fast. This 15-year-old young man is running like a gust of wind." The commentator, the adult Bardo, passionately explained the game at the edge of the simple stands. To be honest, it was just a youth game between two communities. He told him abruptly like the Champions League finals, and he was really eloquent. "Wow, what is this?" "Oh my God, I saw something about Ronaldo riding a bicycle." The whole stand cheered. Many people even stood up, clapped loudly, and started cheering for the red team. Thinking of a beautiful bicycle rider. Well, although he was a little unstable at the end, Jonathan moved quite fast The commentator was right. Jonathan, wearing a red jersey, ran very fast with the ball. Ah, two people from the blue team are coming up now. They are attacking from both sides. Jonathan, what should you do? The red team was simply unstoppable on the court, and the blue team was just struggling to defend its defense. But this lazy defense couldn't stop Jonathan's offensive at all. It passed by. God, I saw a genius. This is an ox's tail. The ox's tail is extraordinary. You guys who came to watch the game today are really blessed. John muttered angrily on the bench. What's going on with this commentary? Is it Jonathan's biological father? A substitute boy next to him said angrily, That's his real father. Jonathan, well done. The commentator was so excited. When he saw his son being so brave and holding the ball straight to the goalkeeper single-handedly, he simply gave up his life to commentate. Face the goalkeeper. What will he choose? A powerful shot or a scorpion swing? The commentator couldn't finish this wonderful speech because Kevin, who had received the true inheritance of John's goalkeeping experience, took the initiative. He saw Jonathan's movements and felt that his speed was particularly fast. It was Kevin's first time keeping goal, and it was also his first time playing football. When he stood on the field, he was thinking, how can he hold the ball? He thought about it for a long time and felt that he could not predict the opponent's offensive line at all, so he made a decision in an instant. Take the initiative. Just do whatever comes to mind. The young man is so upright. When he saw the opponent's player running into the penalty area in front of him with the ball, he pounced on the football at Jonathan's feet. I don't know if Kevin is really talented. His prediction of the ball this time was very accurate. As soon as the ball entered, he aimed at the ball and flew out. In one breath, his gloved hands firmly grasped the football rolling at Jonathan's feet. But what happened later did not go as Kevin expected at all. His save was too powerful. He didn't even stop when he pounced on the ball. He just held the ball and passed it directly and quickly through Jonathan's legs. The players on the court were stunned, eyes widened and mouth opened. This speed is too fast. It's not about Jonathan's dribbling speed, but Kevin's flying speed. In the blink of an eye, the ball was already in Kevin's hands. Kai's whole body passed through Jonathan's penis, and Jonathan covered his crotch in pain and slowly fell to the ground. The players felt their crotches getting cold. But the audience still doesn't know what happened. Why did Jonathan collapse in pain while holding the egg? Referee, foul. The commentator pointed at Kevin and yelled at the referee in black on the sidelines. As a result, the referee did not blow the whistle, but just said lightly, The goalkeeper touched the ball first, and there was no foul. The narrator choked up. The referee blew the whistle and determined that Kevin's interception was valid and did not violate the rules. Kevin stood up slowly, holding the ball with an expressionless face, and looked at the court. The players on the blue team were all covering their faces in embarrassment, not wanting to look here. The players on the opposite team on the red team all looked at them with their eyes wide open and their mouths wide open. Some even hugged their crotches and looked weird. What's going on? Are you okay? The referee in black clothes asked Jonathan, who was lying on the ground and covering his crotch. After Jonathan waved to indicate that there was no big problem, he shouted, The game continues. The game started again, and the players of the red team immediately exited the penalty area in front of Kai. Now, Kevin looked at the ball in his hand with a confused expression, and then looked at Togo with a confused expression. The meaning was very obvious. What should I do? Togo covered his face with a tactical book, then struggled to open the tactical book, sighed to the sky, and then said to Kai, Kick the ball out, pass it to our players, or kick it towards the opponent's goal. When Togo yelled the sentence, his voice was quite loud. He didn't avoid others at all. The whole stadium could hear it clearly. Now, everyone knows that the goalkeeper of the blue team doesn't even know the rules of the game. Where did this living treasure come from? Kevin took the ball and nodded to Togo. He also knew that he couldn't kick the ball. If it was really placed on the ground, he couldn't guarantee whether he would kick it accurately or not. So he chose to throw the ball directly to his nearest player. But the blue team's defense was a scumbag. Before the ball was kicked back and forth a few times, the ball was snatched away by the red team and directly delivered to Jonathan's feet. It's Jonathan with the ball again, baby. You are like a wildfire in that winter. You are so fast. The commentator began to explain the game passionately again. Oh, Jonathan passed another person. Although it doesn't sound good, I have to say that the blue team's defense is simply scum. Togo, who single-handedly built the blue team's scumbag defense, vomited blood on the sidelines. Go straight to the point again. The commentator was all excited. He immediately stood up and stared at his son's heroic appearance. Come on, score a goal. But after Jonathan rushed into the penalty area again, looking at Kevin, who was staring at him intently, he suddenly felt a cold feeling in his crotch, and the next second, he kicked the ball back. Pass the ball. Pass it to the teammate who follows? What does this mean? You had such a good shooting opportunity just now, and you actually passed the ball. What exactly do you mean? Not only were the audience confused, but even the red team's own players couldn't understand it. The red team member who had just received the pass was stunned for a moment, and then immediately thought about taking the ball and shooting. As a result, as soon as Ren entered the penalty area with Chio, he saw Kevin staring at him intently. At that time, like Jonathan, he also felt cold in his crotch. This time he failed to pass the ball to his own man. He was caught in such a gap. Instead, the blue team scumbag backline and the scumbag defenders intercepted the ball with great legs and ran away. The commentator felt his face being slapped and painful by what he just said. Everyone was going crazy. What's wrong with you guys, red team? Are you under some kind of curse? Hee, I am indeed under a curse. The name of this curse is My Balls Hurt. Every red team player who faced goalkeeper Kai felt the malice coming from Kai towards his balls. However, Kevin, who was guarding the goal at this time, saw the red team looking at him with a palpitating look on his face. He suddenly raised the corner of his mouth and smiled from the bottom of his heart. Football is really interesting. From that day on, a little goal demon was officially born. Chapter 2, The Demon Star on the Court. Tiga van Krussel is a 17-year-old Belgian striker. The Sun. Tiga van Krussel is a good prospect in the U17 Youth Academy. If it were not for the wrong time, he should become the forward of the Belgian national team. Football news. Outside the football stadium, many television cameras and anchors were surrounding someone making reports. Looking at this formation, Kevin was a little dazed. Hey, buddy. John slapped Kevin on the shoulder. Hold on. I've always been very stable. Waving away John's slap, Kevin turned around and asked, Who is Tiga van Krussel? Oh, a new football star. A forward, with good skills, fast speed, and high talent. He came out of the youth training camp. He is very popular. John is obsessed with football, and he always understands this kind of news about football. He stood on tiptoe, looked among the crowd for a while, and quickly pointed it out to Kevin. Among the reporters, the man with brown hair stood a head taller. Just him. With blonde hair, green eyes, a tall stature, especially the tall nose that is very conspicuous and wheat-colored skin that shines in the sun, Tiga van Krussel gives people an extremely sunny and healthy feeling. Tiga just turned around at this time and saw John's hand pointing at him, but his eyes noticed Kevin next to John. He has black hair and eyes and does not have the yellow skin of Asians. Kevin's skin is white like that of Europeans, and his facial contours are also very three-dimensional, especially his eyes. When he looked over, Tiga felt as if he was falling into a cold spring, but he could see the clarity at the bottom. Out of politeness, Tiga smiled at Kevin. Wow. John immediately became excited when he saw Tiga smiling at Kevin. Kevin just nodded politely, then turned around, pointed John's hand at Tiga, and pressed it back. Isn't he a professional player? Why is he still playing amateur games? There are no regulations that say it's not allowed. If you look at the number of spectators around, you can tell they don't care about it. There were many times more people in the stands today than yesterday. Coupled with various small newspapers and TV stations, the scene was very lively. Kevin stopped asking questions and started checking his shoelaces and gloves. Not long after, he heard Coach Togo in the distance calling him to warm up, and Kevin stood up and took off his coat. Suddenly a scream was heard. "Kevin! Kevin! We support you!" A group of girls dressed in standard cheerleading uniforms were jumping happily with colored balls, trying to attract Kevin's attention. Kevin was stunned and looked at John in confusion. Are they cheering me on? Shouldn't they be cheering for Tiga? Brother, you have to know that in the eyes of these girls, being handsome is natural. John tapped Kevin's chest. These fake fans only care about whether they are handsome, which is different from real fans like me. What do real fans watch? It depends on whether it's cool or not. At this time, the whistle sounded and players from both sides were about to enter the field. The girls became even more excited when they saw Kevin, who was about to enter the stage, and they jumped more and more happily. Seeing the scene, Kevin immediately turned back to John and said, "The thing you said about being handsome is indeed well-founded and convincing." John had such a mouthful, thinking that Kevin was really shameless. After thinking about it, he still smiled evilly and said, "Just wait, they will cheer for Diga when he scores a goal later." Kevin took a deep breath. That's inevitable. Players from both sides lined up on the court and shook hands with each other. Diga paid attention to the calm-looking Kevin standing at the end of the team. When he shook hands with him, he didn't show anything special. As soon as the whistle blew, the commentator on the sidelines began to explain. The one wearing the blue home jersey is the Familiar Oak community team, and the one wearing the red jersey is the Page community team. With the addition of Tiga, the Page community team is even more unstoppable. As soon as the ball kicked off, Diga rushed forward quickly, took the football directly from his teammates, and rushed through the midfield like a gust of wind. At this time, the commentator yelled, "Wow, this speed reminds me of Pato in 24 seconds. Everyone in Kevin's Oak community team was moved by Diga's speed, as if it was in slow motion. The defensive player had just picked up his speed, but Diga had already rushed over without even moving the ball. It's so fast. There are no exciting passing moves. It's all about speed. Tiga came to play in the amateur field. Based on his speed alone, he wanted to eat his opponent alive. Oh, the Oaks defensive midfielder is coming up. Aha, we're expecting a physical pairing. From the corner of his eye, Diga saw the defenders chasing after him. He flicked the ball directly in front of no one. Diga passed the ball, but there was no teammate in front of him. Did Diga make a mistake in passing the ball? Kevin watched Tiga drive straight into the penalty area in front of him, and he immediately focused on the ball. He only knew that the opponent was a professional, and a novice like him was simply not good enough. But when he saw Diga kicking the ball into the no-man's land in front of him, he really hesitated for a moment. Should he rush up and hold the ball? After Diga picked up the ball, he immediately started to accelerate. The two defenders behind him couldn't catch up with his speed. They didn't expect that he would suddenly accelerate. This time, they were beyond their reach. Diga soon rushed out of their siege, and the ball he just passed returned to his feet again. Oh my God! The commentator jumped up. Tiga passed the ball to himself 3 seconds later. Diga, who increased his speed, got the ball he just passed. With this speed, he rushed into the penalty area with the ball and faced off directly with Kevin, the goalkeeper. Kevin watched Tiga and the ball intently, and Tiga also knew this. He stepped out with his left foot and started to pull back with his right foot. Tiga wants to shoot. Kevin's whole body was tense. His eyes were looking at Diga's feet without blinking, and his body was also preparing to save at any time. Which side is it? Left. Still. Right? Kevin's attention was highly concentrated until Tiga's inner instep was about to touch the football. Left. Kevin made an interception instantly, but Tiga was faster than him. Diga's foot that was going to shoot bypassed the football, and at this time Kevin had already pounced to the left. Oh my God! Tiga faked a shot. He fooled the Oaks goalkeeper. Digga watched Kevin pounce in the wrong direction. At this time, he lightly moved his right foot towards the football. Under everyone's attention, the ball is about to enter the goal. Kevin also fell to the ground at this time. Completion. Oak coach Togo covered his eyes and collapsed. But Digga suddenly widened his eyes and watched as his ball was pushed out of the goal by his glove and failed to score. The entire audience stood up to watch this magical interception. But Kevin was still lying on the ground, but his left glove was missing. Digga looked dumbfounded as he watched his promising start being blocked by Kevin's gloves. He looked at this goalkeeper and had a new calculation in his mind. At the last moment, he threw out his gloves to intercept his goal. "Is this okay?" The commentator almost rushed to the court holding the microphone. The ball has rolled out of bounds and has become dead. The feeling of Tiga fans is the same as the feeling of Manchester United fans when they saw Aguero beat Queen's Park Rangers in the 93rd minute. Probably thinking of that classic shocking reversal, strange smiles appeared on the faces of all the audience. At this time, all the players on the court stood still, and everyone was looking at the referee to decide on this strange interception. The referee walked onto the court and watched the Oaks players help Kevin up. He smiled and gave Kevin a yellow card. Foul. The referee pointed to 12 yards. Penalty kick. Oh no, Coach Togo went crazy on the sidelines. The commentator couldn't help but said, "Oh, it's so tragic. A yellow card plus a penalty kick. I think the Oaks team must be in a bad mood." Kevin didn't understand these rules of the game either. He just patted the grass clippings on himself and then walked back to the goal calmly as if nothing happened. Since it was a penalty kick, Digga took the initiative to walk to the penalty area and began to prepare. He knew from looking at Kevin's actions that the goalkeeper was a novice. He didn't know what to do. He stood in front of the goal at a loss, but relied on instinct to defend the goal. Digga smiled, pulled his foot back suddenly, and then a cannonball slammed towards the goal. The ball was too fast, and it was aimed at the goal. Kevin's body instinctively shrank back, and the hand he just wanted to throw out also retracted. Generally speaking, when being bombarded by heavy artillery, most goalkeepers can't even react, and Chio has already entered. But Kevin, a newbie, was able to react and even shrink back. Digga, who kicked out the shell, looked at Kevin and frowned slightly, but immediately relaxed at the next second. The commentator and the audience cheered together. In the 12th minute of the opening, the visiting Team Page community team, number 9 Tiga, created a penalty kick opportunity and hit it with one shot. Heavy cannon. Kevin looked at Chio in the goal, took a deep breath, bent down, and picked up the ball. When he stood up straight, he saw Digga still looking at him in front of the goal. "Come on." Digga smiled, then turned and left. "I am your opponent, but you cheer for me?" The routine here is a bit deep, and I don't quite understand it. Kevin was a little puzzled, but after seeing the referee signal for a restart, he immediately got into the mood and stopped thinking about what was and was not. The number of shaping on the court was 433, but it has to be said that the Blue Oak community team's defense was thinner than paper. Digga really only used speed, completely tearing apart this fragile defense like a sharp scalpel. If the defender is not strong enough, the goalkeeper will suffer. From the beginning of the game to the end of the first half, Tiga has become a frequent visitor to the penalty area and in front of the goal. The defenders have gone through a painful experience like a century from desperately defending to finally being numb. The pain of the defender has been numbed, but the pain of the goalkeeper continues. Digga, it's Digga again. He rushed directly into the penalty area of the Oak community team with the ball. Lift his foot and shoot. Everyone stared at the ball with wide eyes. The ball shot by Digga drew a weird arc. Kevin stood in front of the goal line and watched Tiga shot. He immediately started running. He knew the ball was coming and which direction it was coming from. His reaction speed is very fast, but he is still a novice when it comes to handling the ball. Want to hold the ball firmly? Kevin knew he couldn't do it. He could only find a safer way. Fight it out! Digga watched his request being played out again. He stopped and wanted to stop the ball quickly to make up the shot. But after Kevin hit the ball flew directly out of the court and became a dead ball. Kevin gasped and looked at Digga. He still had goalkeeper gloves on his hands. He could only wipe the sweat on his forehead with his wrist. No matter how powerful Digga is, he is only one person. As long as Digga rushes forward with speed, his teammates will not be able to keep up with Digga's speed, and he will not have anyone to help them make up shots. Digga looked at the way Kevin looked at him and was suddenly shocked. Just now, after Digga's shot was blocked by Kevin, he looked down at his feet. There is confusion in the eyes that others cannot see. Kevin's eyes made Digga suddenly think of himself, and he suddenly raised his head. The confusion in his eyes disappeared, replaced by an unwavering belief. I can score goals.